I'm not sure if it's something to do with the energy storage. I'm losing power on the straights.
Right. And you said the acceleration was okay? I'll take a look at it.
And how are we today, chaps? Everything running smoothly, I hope.
All right, Brian. Yeah, we're just going through a few last-minute tweaks.
Ah, that's what I like to see. With dedication like that, maybe you'll be able to get us back a few more of those points, eh?
Yeah, I'll try.
Actually, Aiden, I'm glad I've caught up with you. Thought you might like to know. I had a call this morning from Christian Horner. Mentioned you directly.
Oh.
I think they're sniffing around for next season. You're being watched.
So, no pressure then?
So, what's the problem with the car?
I'm losing power on the straights. It's not a massive issue. I'm sure we can deal with it.
Yeah, theoretically, do we have time to install the Spec 2 unit before the race?
Yes, boss.
And Casper's reporting no problems?
No.
Okay. Let's do it. Put the Spec 2 in Aiden's, would you?
Well, that would sort it. I mean, if you're sure.
Of course. You could do with a little boost. A little boost. Besides, anything for our star driver. Casper, how are you today? Feeling good about the race?
Brian.
Hayden, I'm glad I've called you. Listen, don't worry about Casper.
Let me stop you there. Brian, Casper's the furthest thing from my mind right now. I've got a race to focus on.
Good man. In the garage just now, that was my fault. I know how he can be.
What, childish? Self-centered? I'm sick of it, Brian. He's been on my case ever since I joined the team. He needs to grow up.
Okay. You just leave Casper to me and get your head in the race. Let's put that new power unit to good use, eh?
Sure thing, Brian. See you on the other side.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. As I'm sure you guys can see, we're back here with yet another lovely Breaking Point video, and today we're here in Italy, and of course Aiden is getting a lovely new power unit to help him down the straights. That's definitely something you would put on your plate for Monza at a very power fast track, but in terms of the news, the Devon's in the details. Divisive driver currently racing for Haas. Outspoken Butler. Yes, that's definitely interesting there. Don't forget though, we have got emails for the Italian Grand Prix. Jeff, be very careful with the inner curves of the first two chicanes here. They're very high and you can easily launch yourself off track. Other than that, well, it's Monza. Just remember to keep your foot planted on the floor and you'll be fine. They're now doing the interview before the photo shoot tomorrow. This means you should probably try and what they sent over tonight. They'll definitely be asking you what you think about the collection. I've made sure everything's in your hotel room laid out, ready to go. Also, Colin Perry from Trackside has been hassling again, wondering if you should bite the bullet. I don't think he's going to take no for an answer. And then Colin Perry, hey Aiden, I hope this mail finds you well. Just thought I'd politely chase in case you didn't receive my last message. Really love to interview for Trackside, and I think it could be a good opportunity for you to reach out to the fans. I'd be more than happy to work a time and date around you, and would even love to give control of the direction of the interview. Do let me know so we can arrange most weekends. Race weekends I can be flexible, you were there, put it in the dictionary. I hope you get this message. If I don't hear for you, I'll try again in a few days. Colin Perry from Trackside, they're pests, aren't they? Constantly having go, alright, you're gonna do this. They're just constantly wanting you to do the interview. Pests, basically. But Sainz lands at Ferrari, he'll of course be there for next season. That's what's happened now. Renault rebrand to Alpine. These are all the interesting things that are happening. Well, that have happened and are in this 2021 season, but aren't in 2020. And of course, we are in 2020 at the moment in this Breaking Point series. Let's have a look at the socials. Another race weekend, another vintage F1 track. Could we have another classic on our hands today? The transfers this year are insane, although Sainz moving to Ferrari is definitely McLaren's loss. Not if the rumours about Ricciardo taking his seat are true. With Daniel around, McLaren will explode. Well, not too much more to look at here. So we're actually going to get into the next part of this. This is going to be interesting. However, if you guys haven't already, before we get into it, help the channel out by hitting the like button. But more importantly, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. But we're going to get into some lovely racing action around Monza.
As the drivers begin to climb into their cars down on the grid, the excitement is really building at this magnificent circuit. We're just about ready to go racing for today's Formula One Grand Prix. With top speeds reaching 215 miles per hour, only a few places can challenge Monza's crown as the fastest circuit in F1. Hard braking zones going into the 3 chicanes make up the majority of the 11 corners on this 3.6-mile circuit. And just in case the slipstream wasn't enough, 2 DRS zones will help encourage some closer action. Here we are then, Monza, the 90th time this event has been held, so a special year for F1 fans, particularly the Italians, who are rightly proud of this event and its heritage.
Yeah, it always feels a bit special here, doesn't it, Crofty? Hamilton holds the joint record with Schumacher for number of wins here at 5 apiece, but could snatch it outright today with a 6.
Nearly 100 years of history here, so let's see what this year holds in store for the Italian Grand Prix. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ackermann, Carlos Sainz, and Perez, Norris, Ricciardo, Stroll, and Alexander Albon, Ocon, Leclerc, Kevin Magnussen, and Butler, Vettel, Raikkonen, George Russell, and Aiden Jackson, Giovinazzi, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Well, then, here we are at the classic Monza. Not much to talk about before the race. Of course, have taken a grid penalty, but a fresh power unit, and we've got to make it up the field, back past Casper Ackermann. Now that is going to be a challenge, because Casper is starting up in P4. We'll have a look at the grid in a bit more detail in a second. With no real drama before the Grand Prix, we're going to be relying, apart from the grid penalty, we're going to be relying on a dramatic race. That's the selected strategy. 8 laps and then 5 laps, soft to hard. I definitely think soft to medium is going to be much quicker. We're going to go with 7 laps on the softs, 6 laps on the mediums. Of course, the softs aren't going to wear out that much. That's going to be slower. That's going to be slower. So it's going to be 7 on the softs and 6 on the lovely yellow marked mediums. Of course, because of that grid penalty, we are starting a long way back down the field. Let's have a little bit of a quick look at the grid. Well then, the grid. Of course, really, you know, the front 3, they're going to be miles ahead of Casper. They're not really that important for us, to be fair. You know, we're not going to be getting near them. We've just got to overtake these people and get to Casper. That's the most important thing. He's in P4, and we are all the way down the field with the grid penalty in P18. But if we use the fresh power unit to our advantage, we should be able to get a long way up the grid. In terms of the front 2, you've got Mercedes, with Hamilton leading the duo. Then you've got Verstappen, P3, the Dutchman, alongside fellow countryman Casper Ackermann. Then you've got the McLaren Sainz, Perez, the Racing Point, Norris, the other McLaren, Ricciardo, the Renault, Stroll, the Racing Point. So really, you know, not really surprised to see Sainz, Norris, Perez up there, Ricciardo, Lance Stroll, P9, kind of fair enough. I do think it's been a little bit unfair and a bit harsh on Alex Albon so far, because I didn't perform that well compared to his teammate when he was in that Red Bull role, but he certainly performed better than P10. Then you got Esteban Ocon, P11 for Renault. Not too much of a surprise there, but I think the real surprise is Charles Leclerc for Ferrari, and then his teammate Sebastian Vettel. That's P12 for the Monegasque and P15 for the German. Really poor from Ferrari there. In terms of that, you know, it's a bit of an interesting one. Like, really? That's sort of around about where Ferrari were last season, to be honest with you, you know, in 2020, you know. But we've also seen before, you know, in this breaking point series, that they've been a lot higher up than that. Specifically, Leclerc has. Vettel, not really. Then you've got Haas there, Magnussen, Butler. Mr. Butler, we've got to get past him. Then Kimi Räikkönen and George Russell, those ahead of us. Behind us, Antonio Giovinazzi and Nicholas Latifi. We're going to have a lot of work to do, P18, and we've got to get ahead of Kasper Ackermann. Finish ahead of him in this one in 13 laps around Monza. Enough of the grid, enough of any pre-race build-up. Let's get into the actual action. Well then, let's get into some lovely racing action here at Monza. Fire lights, they're out and away we go. Not my greatest of start, it's a good one for Kimi Räikkönen in front as Devon Butler with some very, very naughty manoeuvres there. A bit like his character. Oh, as we had a look down the inside of Ocon there, we've got Leclerc. Yellow flags out, probably for a large amount of cars going slowly. There's Devon Butler, but a very aggressive start on Räikkönen as we've got Kimi just in front of ourselves. We're up to P16. Not the best of starts, not the worst of starts here, as we're going to try and go for the move into the chicane as we get the move comfortably done, dispatch the highest of the two Alfa Romeo drivers, and now we look further forward to the two Ferraris. You've got the Monegasque Leclerc, then Seb Vettel and K-Mag as we little two trigger happy on the throttle there out of that corner. Lap number 1 up into P15, but we certainly have a lot of work left to do in this one, as there's Leclerc chasing down Magnussen as Vettel's managed to dispatch him. We could get some fireworks into Parabolica this lap, and we certainly are, because they're side by side, Haas versus Ferrari, the same power unit. But last year this was a battle you could actually watch. K-Mag versus Leclerc, and Leclerc pretty comfortably through on the exit there, but we then come through on Magnussen on the exit, and now it's ourselves versus Leclerc, a drag race down a lovely long main straight. You can tell he's got the better power unit, because as soon as we take off that ERS, he starts to glide ahead of us despite our fresh one here, and that should be the move on him, should it? It should be, as we get the move done. Meanwhile, his teammate, the German Seb Vettel, no, we don't get the move done. Leclerc's having another look back at us. Can we keep the position? Yes, we can. That's P13. In front, Seb Vettel had a little look at Esteban Ocon, but then went, no, I ain't going for that. No real space there for me to stick my nose in. I don't want to end up in a pile-up, which is generally what you don't want in a Grand Prix. I don't recommend pile-ups, you know. Never really the best way to finish your race, but now we're catching up to Seb Vettel. No DRS yet in this one, but the good old slipstream, and of course your lovely chunks of ERS as we have a little think about it, get very close to the back of his car, and now focus on trying to set up a move maybe towards Parabolica as Leclerc starts to drop away from the back of us. Is there a move on potentially on the exit of Parabolica if we go for the same sort of tactic again? Brake a tad earlier, go for the acceleration. We get that as Lewis Hamilton goes quickest. That's the move on Vettel. Now there should be a move on Ocon. There is a move on Ocon, as hopefully as it's going to be down to the braking zone here, side by side down the main straight into the braking zone. That is P11, and it is Lando who is just in front. Our teammate Casper 3.5 seconds in front, but he has got a long train of cars behind him, and we are trying to latch onto that with Lando in front. It's not time separating us really, it is a massive queue of cars with, of course, Mercedes leading this one. It's Mercedes 1-2, Red Bull then P3 as it stands. Of course the pit stops could shake things up. I don't want to come in on the same lap as my teammate, because that would leave us with double stacking. Not exactly what you want in this one, so certainly won't want to box on that lap. But first go at DRS here, and it is to try and catch up to Lando Norris, who's got the Racing Point of Stroll in front of him, and we're a lot cleaner through that section than Lando Norris was, and we can use a little bit more ERS. There is no DRS down this straight into Parabolica, but there certainly is some good old slipstreaming here, as we use the exact same tactic to deploy again. Is this going to be Lando Norris? Yes, it is going to be Lando Norris. That's ourselves up into P10. But now, he comes back at us. And we've got Lance Stroll in front. Is he going to try and think about a move into the first corner? We're going to give him some space. Sort of move across, play a little bit of swervy. Oh, that got a little bit stabby. A little bit stabby there from Lando. Stuck his front wing into our side pond there. Not exactly what I wanted. It's a little bit too sharp. It's like kind of stick a fork into your stomach, mate. But it was a little bit scruffy. But as you can see, we've got Stroll, Ricciardo and Albon. Ricciardo and Albon were fighting into turn 1 earlier in the lap. Well, I'm sure at this point, you guys are going to know the strategy and the tactics. It's pretty obvious. Brake late, get the acceleration out, and it's going to be side by side with Lance Stroll here. It's going to be some DRS as he managed to get ahead of us. He's going to have a look at Danny Rick in front. He's going to have a look at Danny Rick as we're going to make it 3 wide. Stroll gets the move on Danny Rick, has a look at Alex Albon. We get the move on Danny Rick, and Stroll's through on Alex Albon. That's a double overtake here, but now they're side by side. Albon, can he retain the position? But then Stroll down the inside has that advantage. It's going to be side by side into the chicane. Albon has the inside line, and it looks, yep, he's going to keep the move. The Red Bull remains in P7 here. We're up to P9 with that overtake on the Renault of Danny Rick. Decent start to this one for ourselves as Lance Stroll isn't too far in front. DRS, ERS, the full job here. It's going to be side by side with the BWT Racing Point as we head into Monza's lovely chicane. There's plenty of them, but one of the many lovely examples of a chicane here. Meanwhile, Casper Ackermann still defending well from Sergio Perez, the Mexican, and the Spaniard Carlos Sainz here as we're a little bit careful on the brakes, but we're going to go for the acceleration on the Thai man. Can we get past Alex Albon, the Red Bull? Yes, we can. He might come back at us, though. He's got the slipstream.
1.6 seconds.
As you can see, Sainz over a second in front. It's looking spicy into the first corner here, and it's Casper Ackermann versus Sergio Perez, and to nicely help us, they're fighting, and they're side by side. Lovely action here at Monza. Fantastic racing in the old F1 cars, as we now got Casper versus Checo into the braking point, the story braking point, and there's quite a few of them that are quite hard around here at Monza, and Casper is down to P5. Only Sainz separates him and ourselves here. Whether we'll pit lap 9 or lap 8, I'm not sure. Maybe lap 8, as now we've got Carlos Sainz versus Casper Ackermann in front. Our teammate is sat there for the taking here. Is he going to be... Are we going to be able to get a move on him now? Side by side through this section. Yes, we are. Not where I'd usually go for a move, but that's the move on Casper. And he could come under fire from the Red Bull here. Plenty of action here against Casper, against the other drivers. And now it's Carlos Sainz in front. Casper will have to defend from the sister team Red Bull. And we're now past Carlos Sainz on the exit.
Approaching the pit window, you'll be on the mediums.
Time for some DRS once again. ERS down the main straight on Sergio Perez. Checo now at Red Bull these days takes Albon's seat. He is quite a bit further back, but he has got past Casper Ackermann. So Casper's gone from P4 all the way down the order in just a couple of laps. Well, it's lap 7 on to 8, and the first pit stops are occurring as we go quickest in the final sector. And that is Lewis Hamilton into the pits. You've got a Ferrari, a Renault in the pits here, as we really decide to tighten it up at the first 2 corners here. Of course, Bottas 7.2 seconds in front. Verstappen leads. He managed to get the overtake on the Mercedes by staying out a lap, though. And possibly staying out 1 lap is going to give you an advantage. Staying out 2 laps will probably give you a disadvantage. When I'm talking about the advantage, potentially an advantage because the softs aren't too bad at the moment. They're still going pretty nicely around here. We've gained a lot on Sainz and Perez, and yes, that's now Sainz and Perez. The McLaren driver is in front of the Mexican who sat in the racing point. We're going to be coming in this time round on this lap for our pit stop, and I'm sure you can see in that order you've got the Red Bull ahead of its sister team AlphaTauri, my teammate Casper, which is jolly interesting, always interesting to have, you know. Casper certainly struggling from his P4 on the grid, and that, even with the pit stops that we've had so far in this one, it is going to be this lap for us to come in onto the mediums, and that is totally not because Casper will also be coming in this lap. But no, he might not be that affected by that much. We'll probably be able to effectively double stop in this situation. But yeah, my teammate's in the pits, but only after me. We've got the medium tyres on. We're out of the pits, and Casper won't actually be affected really much at all with the double stack. We are out of the pits, currently in what will be P7. If we can stay ahead of the Williams, which we will stay ahead of Latifi still on his softs from the start of the Grand Prix, as I'll just play right over these curbs there. Very messy, not the way we want to start the stint, because we're actually getting pretty close to Hamilton and Verstappen in front, and it is Hamilton who leads Verstappen. Bottas yet to pit. Maybe that's because he was P3 and wants to have the advantage towards the end of the race, to be able to go for an overtake there, because he's certainly not going to be coming out ahead of them. Now we're on to lap number 9. Those softs are going to be slower than some fresh mediums. We've got to put in some decent times here, because we've got a 6-second gap on Checo Perez. Really nice there. We weren't held up in the pit stops, and you got a Ferrari ahead of our teammates. So the double stack certainly didn't help my teammate, but it didn't leave him massively disadvantaged. But the Ferraris are climbing up the order in this one after what was a disappointing grid position for them. And yep, just thought I'd show you guys some pure skill, not a little mistake there. Well then, a quick lap number 10 update, and with all those cars coming in on lap number 9, it certainly has actually helped Perez and Albon. Well, of course, Perez did come in, but it has helped Albon, because Albon's up to P6. He's on fresher tyres. I'm not sure why on the hards, but he is now ahead of Perez on fresher tyres. Interesting decision there to come in when he's decided to come in, and that could be helpful in this one. We've gone purple in the middle sector. We're coming towards the end of the lap, and Bottas is only 3.8 seconds in front. Not really surprised, considering he chose the hards. Verstappen and Hamilton looking pretty close for the win. It'll be interesting to see if we see a battle between those two drivers. That'll be great to see some more fireworks between them. Maybe a little bit of a battle for an overtake there, as Perez playing switcheroo with Alex Albon there. That's now P5 for Perez, P6 for Albon. That train will probably continue to swap until the end of the Grand Prix. We might catch up to Valtteri here. Other than that, there isn't really much left for us to do in this one. Well then, we're on lap number 12 out of 13, right at the end of this one. The end of the penultimate lap as we head on to the final lap. We're actually catching up to Valtteri Bottas. Nowhere near enough that we need, and it is still neck and neck between Hamilton and Verstappen, but
final lap of the race.
the Mercedes power unit so much stronger than the Red Bull, especially in 2019. I mean, 2020, sorry. So much stronger, as we're going to absolutely ride these curves here. I'm really going to try and attack this, and I don't think that was the quickest way through the first sector, but as we're on to the final lap, Albon is ahead of Perez, not by that much. Still a lovely long DRS train there. My teammate already stuck behind Ferrari, having a bit of disaster for himself.
It is 2.2 seconds.
It is 2.2 seconds, Jeff. Sounds so much different than normal. You sound stressed. Not like, oh, I'm afraid it's a mechanical failure, please bring it into the pits. Or like, well, stewards aren't happy with your creative interpretations. The track limits, mate. Just calm it down. It's a bit more than that. We've gone purple in Sector 1. Really, really pushing this up and putting everything into it to go for a really decent lap. It's not purple in Sector 2. We did go purple in Sector 2 a few laps ago, but we've gone green now. Someone's gone quicker there. Now we're going to really attack the final sector. We're going to go for a really nice, tasty lap to finish this one. Great start to this one. Really, really nice to be making some overtakes at Monza. Plenty of fun. Great to drive, and hope you guys have enjoyed this race. As Lewis Hamilton wins the Italian Grand Prix, we're going to come home P4.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Rivalry forming between the rookie Aiden Jackson and his veteran teammate Casper Ackerman. Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it.
So it's a decent result for you today with a finish in the points. How are you feeling, Aiden?
Yeah, it's a good result, but let's be honest, it still could have been better. Granted, these are some solid points for the team. I just feel there's a big room for improvement.
A big talking point, irrespective of today's results, is how you've improved overall throughout the season. What would you say to that?
I couldn't do it without the support of the team. They've been incredible. I'm feeling looked after, and I couldn't ask for more. So any improvements are thanks to them.
It's funny you should mention the team as a whole. Can you give us an update? How is the current relationship between you and Casper Ackerman?
Look, driver relationships are always going to be tricky. Individually, you're always pushing yourselves, and that can cause friction. I can't let anything like that worry me. Besides, we're fine.
Thank you for your time.
Well then, the next chapter will be the Mexican GP. We won't be doing that today, but like I said, this call.
Mom?
Aiden, I'm here.
Oh, good. After that flight delay, I was starting to get concerned.
Don't worry. Everything's fine.
And they're looking after you?
Better than at Silverstone.
Good, because you were my lucky charm there, Mum. And I'm hoping you do the same here.
I'll try, love. Now just do what you do, and everything will be great.
I know. Mirror signal maneuver.
And always stick to the speed limit.
I'll try.
Have a great race, Aiden. I'll see you after.
I'm so pleased you're here, Mum. This one's for you, eh?
A lovely phone call there, but we're not going to look too much at things. That's for the Mexican GP. So we're not going to have too much of a look at things. This will be the next video with the Mexican Grand Prix. But of course, today we've had the lovely Grand Prix, of course, at Italy, at Monza. Moved up the order, P4 in the end. Nice to be making some good overtakes in that one. But that's it for this video. Nice little phone call there. I've enjoyed it. I always think it's fun at Monza to be fighting up the field when it's a little bit slower cars in front because you've got a better engine. And then you can go and make those overtakes. I love Monza, you know, it's switcheroo, 3 wide into chicanes, it's fantastic. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will hopefully be releasing some more of these videos sometime soon. Do tell me down below in the comments section what you're really enjoying in terms of the different playlists, just so I know like what to focus on consistently getting those uploads out for you. But I'm going to be bringing some more career mode stuff very soon. But thanks a lot for watching. If you're enjoying these videos on this channel, don't forget to subscribe to it if you haven't already, and hit the like button. But have a great day.